3 spine-chilling true Easter horror stories exposed. Unexplained events that haunted generations. In the quaint suburb of Maplewood, where pastel colors and cheerful decorations filled the streets like an endless echo of joy, a dark sensation of dread coiled around Sarah's heart. The air felt thick with an unshakable chill that cut through the warmth of the setting sun. As a 32-year-old single mother, she had never felt so alone, thrust into a new community where familiar faces were replaced by unsettling silence. It was almost Easter, a time for celebration and family, but Sarah's spirit flickered like a dying flame, haunted by shadows that grew longer with each passing day. The day she stumbled upon whispers of eerie folklore linked to Maplewood, she wished she hadn't. The legend told of families who vanished without a trace, swallowed whole by the very streets she now walked, a man's charm luring them, only for them to disappear, leaving nothing but ghostly echoes. The presence of those who were never to be found lingered like an uninvited guest in her home, making her skin crawl. As Sarah began preparing the holiday meal, the smell of ham wafted through the kitchen, competing with a stark realization, a heavy silence that seemed to smother the neighborhood, like a predator lurking just out of sight. Then came the baskets. They arrived on her porch with no cinder in sight. Instead of bright plastic eggs and chocolate bunnies, they were filled with unsettling objects, a broken doll, tattered photographs of children long gone, and notes scrawled with phrases that froze her blood. Remember them. Each gift became a weight in her stomach, dragging her further into unbearable fear. The cheerful community of Maplewood, once a safe haven, morphed into a labyrinth of anxiety as she spotted her children playing outside, their laughter piercing the heavy air. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension escalated as Emma's excitement blossomed into curiosity. A neighbor, overly friendly, offered to take her on a mini egg hunt. Every instinct screamed at Sarah to intervene, but dread held her captive. She felt something sinister in that kindness, creeping closer like the shadows twirling at twilight. And when her daughter vanished into the night, the panic clawed at her with icy fingers. They brushed it off, the authorities dismissing her frantic pleas, convincing Sarah that her fears were just the side effects of loneliness wrapped in paranoia. Left alone in a community that had morphed from quaint to grotesque, Sarah gathered her resolve and headed to Maplewood Elementary, a relic swathed in rumors of the family's lost and whispers that echoed through its dilapidated halls. As she pushed through the broken door, the floor groaned beneath her, feeling more like a warning than a welcome. The darkness was suffocating, the air tasting of fear. As chills traveled up her spine, she glimpsed something move in her periphery, a shadow darting just out of sight. "Leave while you still can." A whisper floated from the corner, familiar yet distant, wrapping around her like a noose. Heart pounding, she hesitated at an attic door, the memories of 1,000 lost souls swirling around her. But then she heard it, a faint, sweet voice calling out, one she recognized from the bottom of her heart. "Mommy!" It echoed from above, a melody twisted by the shadows. Digging deep into her very soul, Sarah was now torn between racing toward the light and stepping into the terrifying unknown. The truth was just within reach, but would it lead her to salvation or damnation? With nothing but darkness ahead, she took a breath and stepped forward, ready to confront her greatest nightmare. The attic creaked ominously as Sarah climbed the rickety steps, each groan of wood sounding like a warning. The voice barely reached her, crackling like old radio static, pulling her deeper into that darkened space. "Mommy!" It was Emma, sweet yet desperate, drifting on echoes that filled Sarah with dread. When she reached the top, a halo of dusty light leaked from a cracked window, illuminating the chaos of abandoned toys and decades of forgotten memories. Old boxes loomed like tombs, each one threatening to spill out the past. Her heart raced. How could she possibly find her daughter in all this desolation? She called out, her voice trembling. "Emma, where are you?" Silence stretched back at her, heavier than the dust clinging to the air. Each breath felt like sandpaper in her throat. Sarah scoured the attic, pushing aside a battered trunk, but only shadows responded. Then she spotted it. A flicker of movement, a dress swishing behind a pile of old blankets. Hope ignited in her chest, urging her to move faster. Emma. She rushed forward, but the flicker vanished. Panic clawed at her throat. Overwhelmed, she stumbled back, colliding with a shelf piled high with ancient memorabilia. A photo frame crashed to the floor, the glass shattering like her composure. She froze, staring down at the faces trapped in time children, their smiles bright, eyes wide with a haunting intensity that was now painfully familiar. Remember them, the phrase whispered insistently in her mind, wrapping tighter like a serpent. She could feel the walls closing in, the weight of despair pressing against her. The attic floor seemed to pulse beneath her feet, each heartbeat sinking with her mounting dread. And then she saw it. A doll, propped up against a dusty teddy bear. Its porcelain face cracked, resembling Emma's favorite toy. Disoriented, she picked it up, and with it came a sense of wrongness. It felt alive, as if it had been waiting for her, its eyes dull yet penetrating. A note slipped out from underneath, "She's waiting, forever." Nausea twisted in her stomach. A chill whispered against her skin, and she turned, bracing herself for what might confront her in that suffocating darkness. "Mommy." The voice again, but closer now, dripped like syrup off an anxious tongue. It was not just Emma calling now. More voices joined in, layered like a haunting melody, whispers of the long-lost children of Maplewood, pleading from the depths. The shadows thickened, swirling around her feet, wrapping around her ankles until they felt impossibly heavy. "What do you want?" She gasped, panic-stricken, her breath quickening, and the darkness answered. "Take their place," it hissed. Heart racing, Sarah fell back, scrambling toward the attic door, but the shadows lunged after her, tugging at her clothes, trying to pull her down to whatever void waited below. She cowered before the menacing pull of the invisible hands. "Let me go," she screamed, twisting away from the malevolent force. But something caught her eye from the corner. Emma's silhouette, small and dainty, standing curiously still at the bottom of the attic stairs. "Mommy, come play," her daughter said, a strange smile on her face, one that sent a chill crawling down Sarah's spine. Time froze. Was that really her Emma, or another illusion standing within the shadows? Sarah's instinct screamed at her to run, yet something deeper dared her to move toward the innocence that now seemed so tainted. As darkness encircled her, she faced a choice: the allure of a fading dream or the terrifying reality of loss. Every instinct wailed as she hesitated, heart pounding like a thunderclap echoing through the very fabric of her being. What would she choose? The child in front of her seemed to shimmer like a tease, while below, the whispers grew louder. The walls of the attic pulsed, and as the shadows grasped at her, she felt the chill of other souls pressing in around her. The growing chorus called for her too, ensnaring her heart. Could she escape this nightmarish fate? With every ounce of courage, she steeled herself for the confrontation at hand. Yet just as she took her first step toward Emma, a cold hand gripped her shoulder from behind. In that moment, darkness at her back and the specter of her daughter in front, she was left teetering on the edge of despair. What terrors awaited her in the shadows? And would she be able to save Emma before it was too late? The grip on her shoulder tightened, fingers that felt icy and deathly still. Sarah gasped, her breath hitching in her throat as her heart thundered like a runaway train. She spun around, and the darkness manifested before her, an outline of something looming, shadowy, and grotesque. A distorted figure raised itself, an echo of a child long lost, but not forgotten. "Leave her," it rasped in a voice so hollow it sent chills racing down her spine. "Emma," Sarah shouted, desperation flooding her voice as she stumbled back toward the stairs, fully aware that the remnants of the past were looming closer. "Play with us." "Mommy," echoed the disembodied voices, the presence around her pulsating like a skittish heartbeat. Each childlike note dripped with dark enchantment, pulling at her resolve, twisting her instincts into knots. No. She felt tears prick at her eyes, but rage flared bright within her. She refused to be broken here, in this attic of shadows. The darkness writhing at her feet tightened its grip, growing bold. racing up her shins, dragging her down, as if it could taste her fear. With a jolt of willpower, Sarah lunged forward, her body crashing into the stairs as she desperately watched Emma, her daughter so close, her smile now twisted and sinister. "Mommy, don't go." Emma's sweet voice, warped and cruel, made her insides twist. The attic warped around her. Time slowed as the walls creaked and moaned, dimly lit by the dim light filtering through the cracked window. "Emma, I want to leave you," Sarah shouted, her voice cracking. She strained against the tethering shadows, powerful and relentless against her resolve. "Mommy, play with us." Overwhelmed by the hollow whispers, Sarah fought to stay present. She needed to reach Emma, needed to tear through the deception that twisted everything around her. "Remember the stories?" A voice chimed, one of the lost children. "They all play here forever." Sarah's stomach churned. Memories flooded her mind, stories of children who vanished, trapped in their games, confined in darkness, left to call for their mothers forever. A flood of anger surged through her. They took children, bound to a tainted eternity. But she would not allow it to happen to Emma. "No, you can't have her," Sarah bellowed, as she dashed forward, her heartbeat crashing alongside the gnarl of shadows. She grabbed Emma's small wrist tightly, feeling her warmth. "Mommy," Emma cried, this time genuine fear seeping into her voice as shadows clawed at her ankles, pulling her into the darkness. "Hold on, sweetheart," Sarah shouted, exerting every ounce of strength, starting to pull Emma back. The shadows thrashed around them, howling with rage, the air thick with anguish and despair. One moment felt like eternity. As she dragged Emma forward, the murmur of lost spirits roared, a cacophony of fading laughter and desperate pleas colliding in a whirlwind at the top of the stairs. The light beckoned like a distant hope. Just when Sarah thought they were free, a blinding flash erupted from behind her. A figure, twisted and grotesque, lunged toward them in one swift motion, arms outstretched. The attic trembled, echoing with anguished screams. "Let me go!" Emma shrieked, and Sarah felt the liveliness in her grip slipping, darkness tearing her daughter away. Despair ripped through her, paralyzing her in frigid terror. "No!" Sarah howled. She threw herself forward, propelled by raw survival. In an eruption of movement, the world seemed to cave in as shadows and light collided. Breathless, heart racing, the edges of her vision blurred as she held on to Emma with every bit of strength left in her. But just as they reached the threshold, the door slammed shut. Sarah stumbled forward, crashing hard against it, the barrier solid and immovable like an imposing wall of grief. Behind her, the chilling laughter of the shadows echoed, a mockery that stung. "Mommy, please." The air thickened as Sarah banged against the door, desperation clawing at her throat. She didn't want to believe she would never have a chance to escape, never have a chance to return to the light or to save her daughter. Staggering back, she turned, eyes wide with adrenaline and dread. The creatures were closing in again, their whispers taunting, in a language ancient and resigned. And then, the true horror dawned on her. What if they were not the only ones in danger? What if Emma was not the only child they wanted? As the shadows danced closer, Sarah realized not all was lost. There had to be a way out, a way to turn the tide. But with every breath, a chilling thought settled deep within her. Would the cost of escape be too great? The darkness seemed to pulse in anticipation as she prepared to confront her worst fears. She had choices to make, and each one danced closer to the edge of despair. "Stay with me, Emma. We'll find a way." Together, but a sinister whisper threaded through the fear. Would they be willing to pay the price? With a burst of renewed determination, she set herself for whatever showdown awaited them, knowing that the clock was ticking and the shadows were hungry. What would happen next, at the brink of this ordeal? Would she defy the shadows or surrender to their grasp? The shadows loomed, dense and suffocating, a storm of despair swirling around Sarah and Emma. Each whisper from the dark grew louder, more insistent, wrapping around them like a cold, clammy embrace. It felt alive, pulsing with hunger, a primal force that twisted her resolve. "Listen to their laughter, Mommy," Emma said, her voice shifting again, no longer pleading but taunting, like the very essence of the attic. "You can join us forever." Sarah's blood ran cold. "No, you're not my daughter." The words exploded from her lips, fueled by the fierce love that battled the encroaching terror. Behind her, the door remained a barricade, a grim reminder of the sanctuary she could not break through. She turned, heart racing, instinct driving her to protect the one thing that mattered most. Yet the shadows churned, restless, angry. They struck out at her, clawing at her legs, biting at her resolve. They whispered secrets long buried, coaxing her with promises of safety, if only she would let go, surrender. "Mommy." Emma was crying again, but the sweet innocence was gone, replaced with a haunting echo of the child she used to know. "I'm scared. Help me." Sarah met her daughter's eyes, now pools of darkness tainted with fear and something else, something alien. "I'm here, Emma. I want to let them take you." Her breath hitched as she pulled Emma closer, feeling the warmth slipping away, consumed by the cold of the shadows whispering around them. The air grew heavy as if thickened by forgotten memories. Sarah needed to fight back. She had heard tales of ancient rituals, of binding darkness with light. "If there's a way to turn this back to break whatever binds us, then I will find it." As those thoughts raced in her mind, the shadows writhed and twisted, a mass of racked, anguished faces emerging from the dark like echoes of past torment. "Join us, be one of us," they chanted, their voices weaving a sickening melody that stirred dread deep within her core. "No," Sarah yelled, shaking her head violently as she pushed through the bleakness her memories, her daughter's laughter, the warmth of their shared moments, and it sparked something. A flicker of luminescence in the pervasive gloom. The whispers faltered, halted for just a heartbeat. But then, in a heartbeat too, the shadows recoiled, drawing back, a beast feeling a sudden sting. The air crackled, and the walls seemed to shift and weave as the figure of the grotesque child loomed closer, a dark predator emboldened by their fear. "Don't you want to play?" It hissed, the curve of its lips a desecration of innocence. "You could stay forever." Sarah felt the dread clawing at her throat, choking the air from her lungs. Reality warped as hope clashed against despair, both vying for dominance. "I only want Emma," she shouted, a primal force pushing her forward. Time stretched, every heartbeat a cruel reminder of the moments slipping away. Then, she saw it. A flickering light, nothing but a spark beneath the weight of terror. "Emma, hold on tight." With a surge of defiance, she magnetized the light within her thoughts, focused it against the looming darkness. The shadows surged, attempting to swallow her whole, but she didn't waver. "You don't get to have her. You're not powerful enough." The laughter morphed into shrieks, angry and frightened, dissonant wails that echoed around them. The walls pulsed in reaction, shivering in resonance with her determination. Sarah felt the energy swell within her, coursing through her fingertips, a ripple of brilliant light forcing back the encroaching darkness. It was both terrifying and exhilarating, a battle of wills. But at what cost? Would this light be enough to sever the bond between them and the darkness? Or would it merely invoke a greater wrath? The shadows faltered under her burgeoning power, and for a moment, fear seemed distant. But in that instant of hope, a ghastly face broke through, contorting with rage. She couldn't let up. "Stay with me, Emma. Fight alongside me." The energy swelled as Sarah pushed back, suddenly aware of the consequences looming in the shadows. She had a choice. Would she risk everything for her child, or would she sacrifice her own peace to save her? Just when the light blazed brightest, illuminating the room, a loud crack echoed through the attic, slicing through the tension. What if this act of desperation invited something worse? Would they finally face the true horror, or had they just made things worse? The darkness lurched forward, hungry to reclaim what it had lost, and with every breath, Sarah understood. The final play had only just begun. Sarah's heart raced as the crack rang through the air. The shadows recoiled briefly, momentarily stunned by her light, but then surged forward with renewed ferocity, like a pack of wolves driven by hunger. She felt the cold weave through her fingers, pulling her back, wrapping her in a relentless coil of despair. "Mommy!" Emma screamed, her voice rising in pitch, twisting with fear. The room moaned, its very structure vibrating with the malevolence gathered in the corners. "They're coming. They're coming." Terror shot through Sarah like fire. She tightened her grip on Emma's hand. the warmth slipping further away as the shadows pressed ever closer. The flicker of light she'd conjured pulsed weakly, flickering like a dying flame. "Hold on," she shouted, her voice now raw with desperation. "We have to find the light, keep it alive." But the darkness howled in response, the cacophony drilling into her skull, shattering her focus. The anguished faces writhed, blurring together in a horrific tapestry of suffering. They were not just shadows. They were the remnants of countless lost souls, victims of this grim space. "Join us," they sang, their voices a twisted chorus, beckoning and menacing all at once. "Don't resist. You can feel it too." Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, the whispers swirling around her, clawing at her sanity. Images of laughter and happiness danced just out of reach, like fading echoes of a dream. She couldn't lose them. Not now. Not ever. With a painful effort, she forced her eyes back open, searching for Emma in the gathering dark. Her daughter stood at the heart of the terrifying spectacle, her face stricken with fear, mouth moving in silent pleas. "I'm here," Sarah shouted, stepping forward, drawn to her daughter as if by gravity. At that moment, from the dark expanse behind Emma, a figure flickered into view. A childlike silhouette, but wrong in every way. Massive, inhuman eyes glinted with malicious delight, reflecting the dim remnants of Sarah's flickering light. "Come play," Sarah the creature crooned, its voice dripping with fake sweetness, mocking everything she loved. "You want to leave us?" "No," Sarah screamed, a wave of pure terror flooding through her. This could not be Emma's fate. "You're not real. You can't take her." The darkness seemed to recoil, as if her defiance momentarily stung. But then it surged back, and Sarah could feel it clawing at the edges of her mind. Panic twisted in her chest. Out of nowhere, a thought sparked within her, an idea, born from the depths of her desperation. "I have to face it," she whispered to Emma. "Stay strong, my love. We'll find the way out." "Can you bind shadows with words?" With determination? Sarah drew in a deep breath, feeling the weight of the darkness pressing down upon her. She began to recite the words she remembered, fragments from childhood stories, incantations from the depths of her memory. "Light, you must come. Shadows, be gone. Leave my daughter." The air thickened, and for a brief moment, the ghosts hesitated, confused by her sudden resolve. The oppressive darkness flickered. Hope surged in Sarah's heart. She poured everything into those words, her love, her will, her very existence. The shadows screamed an unholy wail that vibrated the very bones of the attic. They started to retreat, swallowing the walls around them. But then more figures appeared in the dark, drawn by the commotion, stronger than the rest. The shadows piled on, a grotesque mass swirling with rage and hunger. "Mommy, they want to stop," Emma cried, as she was pulled back, her small frame swallowed within the swirling mass. "No." Sarah lunged forward, the light within her dimming as she moved toward her daughter, but the darkness pushed back harder, almost playful in its cruelty. "Emma, hold on to me." Light battled dark, a vicious dance in which the outcome was uncertain. Would Sarah break the chains binding her daughter, or would they both be pulled into an eternal night? As shadows surged forward in a final, desperate bid, Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift, as if the attic itself was warping. The ceiling twisted, the walls melted, and the light flickered one last time. In that breathless moment, hope slipped away like smoke through her fingers, and Sarah realized the true terror lay not in the darkness, but in what it meant to face her worst fears. Would she fight, or would she fall? The attic's mournful wails filled the air, the shadows closing in as she grasped for the light once more. Sarah's heart pounded against her ribcage as the shadows twisted closer. An icy claw gripped her mind. The air thickened with whispers, every syllable heavy with dread. They mingled, a palpable fog rolling around her, and she could see their faces swirling in the darkness, the pain, the anger, the desperate yearning. "Emma," she cried, forcing her voice through the cacophony, a fragile lifeline in the suffocating void. But there was no response, only a deafening silence that echoed with despair. The creature loomed, its eyes bright like coals in a dying fire. It seemed to stretch across the space, a grotesque entity stretched too thin. "You see, dear Sarah," it hissed, its voice like nails on glass, "you cannot fight what you truly are. You are like us now. Embraced the dark, she felt Emma slip further from her grasp, a sharp pain slicing through her as reality cracked. She couldn't let this thing's words settle in. No, I'm not like you, she shouted, but the creature's laughter filled the attic, a chilling sound that slithered through her bones. With a sudden, desperate determination, Sarah lunged toward the cold mass where Emma had vanished. It pulled her in, wrapping around her like a wet blanket, dragging her toward an abyss filled with shadows and despair. The air curdled with unearthly screams. Join us, they echoed, a chorus of mournful pleas. The shadows latched onto her like leeches, sucking strength and light. Panic surged through her veins, and she fought against it, clawing through the darkness. She could feel her energy waning, but she pressed forward, tunneling deeper into that darkness where her daughter was lost. But then, something shifted. She could see a spark, a faint glimmer of her child's light flickering in the distance, an ethereal beacon amidst the chaos. Emma. Sarah's voice cracked, ignited with a sudden rush of hope. With renewed resolve, she stretched out her hands, reaching toward that shining light, fighting against the cold tug of the shadows that called to her. I want to let you take her, she shouted, as shards of terror danced around her. The creature swirled in front of her, its form distorting, morphing into a monstrous visage of everything she had ever feared. You're too weak, it sneered, razor-sharp teeth glinting in the gloom. Stop fighting it, Sarah. But Sarah roared, summoning every ounce of will she had left. No, I am stronger than you. A fierce fire ignited within her, a raw, primal strength fueled by love and desperation. The light surged, brightening the oppressive shadows, pushing them back. She could hear Emma's voice again, fragile but clear, calling out for her. Mommy, help me. Hold on, sweetie. I'm coming. Sarah's fingers brushed against Emma's, a spark igniting between them. Hope flared brighter than the encroaching dark, and just as it seemed the shadows would swallow her whole, a blinding flash erupted around them. The attic quaked as the force of the light collided with darkness, casting swirling shadows into violent retreats. But before Sarah could reach her daughter, the attic warped once more, revealing a door one with a sinister, inviting glow. It flickered in and out of existence, tantalizingly close yet impossibly far. What is that? Emma screamed, terror flooding her voice. Torn between her daughter and the door, Sarah hesitated. The whispers grew louder, clawing at her conscience. Join us, they sang, seductive and wicked. A decision loomed: stay here with Emma or step through that threshold, risking everything for a potential escape. Mommy! Emma's cries echoed, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. Sarah's heart raced as the ground beneath her trembled. The shadows flared again, angry and relentless. She could feel the door's allure and the grasping darkness pulling her back, battling for her soul. What had she done? How could she choose? A chilling realization washed over her. Did she dare enter that door, knowing it might mean abandoning everything she fought for? As the darkness closed in again and the shadows loomed over them with renewed ferocity, Sarah grappled with her heart-wrenching decision. Would she cross the boundary of sanity in search of salvation, or would her light extinguish alongside the souls trapped in this nightmarish realm? The choice would define everything, but would time allow her to make it? The moment hung suspended, a heartbeat stretching into eternity. Sarah felt the weight of silence pressing against her, even as the shadows loomed closer, ravenous. I want to leave you, she screamed, her voice cracking, barely cutting through the thick air. The door flickered behind her, an enticing shimmer promising escape or doom. Don't let go, Emma cried. The panic in her daughter's voice sliced through the darkness, urging Sarah to remain grounded, to hold on with every fiber of her being. The sharp edges of fear dug deeper into Sarah's heart. A shudder coursed through the floor, a split-second tremor that sent waves of dread through her body. The creature laughed again, a sound that scraped against Sarah's mind. You're all alone, dear girl. You can't save her or yourself. The shadows seemed to pulse around her, an alive mass of despair yearning to consume what was left. But Sarah couldn't be fooled. She had fought this battle too long. No, she shouted again, more fierce than before, her words laced with defiance. I'm not afraid of you. Yet as she declared her strength, the shadows pulled harder. They clawed at her skin, people trapped within them reaching out with twisted faces, lost souls, marred and broken. Their cries filled her ears, despair washing over her like a chilling wave. "Help us," they rasped. "Join us, you will never escape." She stumbled, wavering for a moment under their despairing weight. "Emma," she called, the name echoing back to her, drowned in anguish. Then, in that instant of wavering, Sarah glimpsed a flitter of light darting from the door. It danced erratically, like a moth flinging itself toward a flame. When she realized it wasn't only the door calling to her. It was a reflection of her own hope, the glimmer she had fought so hard to cherish. A heavy throb pulsed in her chest like a war drum. The pull of the shadows was strong, but the door loomed larger in her mind. "Focus, Sarah," she whispered to herself, the flicker of determination reigniting within her. With every ounce of will, she whispered back to Emma, "I'm here. I'm not leaving you." Gritting her teeth, she extended her hand toward her daughter, fighting the urge to turn away from the door's pull. Just then, the creature lunged forward, a dark blur, snatching at her with spindly fingers that aimed to drag her into the abyss. Sarah gasped, the reality of her choices crashing back in. Panic flared anew, but resolute fire flared in her chest. "Stay back," she roared, exuding the strength of desperation. The shadows grew, swelling like dark tides, ready to engulf everything. The whispers became a deafening roar, pleading, tormenting, betraying the fragility of her sanity. The creature coiled around her, every tendril creeping under her skin. "Join us," it hissed, breath better suited to graveyards than a living creature. "No." Sarah staggered, feeling the shadows tighten their grip. She turned back to Emma, whose face was pale as the flickering light vibrated between them. "I can save you. Just hold on." The entity hissed, the air crackling with dark energy. It was now or never. Summoning the last of her strength, Sarah tore her eyes from the door, her focus locked on her daughter, the only light she needed in that oppressive void. With a final scream of defiance, she lunged forward, reaching, grasping, but what awaited beyond that glimmer of salvation? The darkness whispered again, tempting her with promises of power, of relief from pain, of supernatural belonging. Sarah hesitated for just a moment, heart racing. Would stepping through that door lead her to a world beyond despair, or was it merely another trap, a darker fate than the one she faced now? The shadows surged, and time ran out. The ground below cracked open, revealing an endless chasm. Would she remain tethered to the love of her daughter, or plummet into darkness, forever lost to the clutches of the creature? It all came down to this single heartbeat, and the choice that would change everything. Sarah's heart felt like it was trying to break free from her chest, pounding against her ribs as if in desperate protest. The darkness loomed, a sentient fog closing in around them, thick with despair. She could barely see Emma's pale face now. The flickering light was dimming, the way a candle struggles before being snuffed out. "Mom, please." Emma's voice trembled, choked with fear. Every word surged with urgency, as if echoing off the very gates of the abyss. The creature laughed again, a cacophony of distorted souls. "Choose, dear girl," it taunted, its voice a slithering whisper that crawled under Sarah's skin. "Choose before it's too late." Sarah's mind raced as the shadows writhed closer. She felt its cold tendrils wrapping around her legs, pooling like ink, threatening to drag her down. Every instinct screamed for her to leap towards the door, but it felt less like salvation and more like a precipice. What lay beyond? Was it freedom or deeper entrapment? "Hold on. I'm coming," she gasped, her grip on reality slipping with every pulse of darkness around her. The shadows mocked her, a chorus of lost souls begging for her to surrender, to join their lament. The ground beneath her churned, fissures spiderwebbing across the surface as if the very earth was rejecting this evil presence. But who would emerge from this chaos, her or the darkness? The choice ripped through her, each moment stretching cruelly, weaving doubt into her resolve. Mom, Emma's cry came sharper this time, cutting through the fog of despair. Sarah's breath hitched. She couldn't even let the thought linger too long. Every second counted. Without thinking, she plunged forward, reaching through the mass of shadows to grab Emma. "I've got you." The moment their fingers met felt electric, a rush that intertwined their fates. Sarah yanked Emma towards her, pulling her away from the deep well of darkness. But the shadows were relentless. They screamed with sudden fury, clawing at her back, trying to reclaim their prey. A rush of icy air slapped against her face as if the very atmosphere had turned hostile. "Run!" she boomed, fear fueling her command. They were stumbling, weaving past the surging tide of shadows threatening to overwhelm them. Just a step forward felt like a monumental feat. Each breath was a battle, every heartbeat echoing in the infinite void. But the door was still there, beckoning, rippling with life, fighting against the oppressive pull of the creature. From behind, the overwhelming darkness pulsed. It was a mass of rage and hunger, surging aggressively as if frustrated by their escape. "Why do you fight?" it sneered, vile sounds hissing through the night. "You will never escape. I will have you both." Sarah shook her head. "Not today." Fueled by the primal need to protect Emma, she charged toward the light, urgently scrambling for one more step, one last push. The shadows lunged, sharp tendrils darting at their heels. Sarah felt their icy breath on her neck, drawing closer, and she threw herself into the hopeful glow of the door. "Emma!" she screamed, wrapping her arms tightly around her daughter. They collided with the blinding light, and then everything went still. Silence wrapped around them like a shroud. Sarah opened her eyes to an empty street bathed in flickering streetlights. They were outside. What just happened? But the weight of dread settled immediately. Emma wasn't there. Emma. Panic twisted within her, claws of fear digging deep. The echoes of the darkness faded, but a lingering chill filled the air around her. Something was wrong. Horribly wrong. The silence became deafening, an oppressive weight stifling her screams. "Emma!" she cried again, desperation clawing at her throat. But all that answered was the whisper of the wind, a sinister chortle stirring in the shadows that hugged the corners of the night. What had happened when they crossed into that light? And was Emma truly lost, or was she something else entirely, trapped in a nightmare too deep for a mother to navigate? As the shadows gathered once more, Sarah struggled to breathe. What would she have to face to get her daughter back? A single flickering streetlight bobbed up ahead, revealing nothing but dread. The air felt heavier, thick with something unnameable. Sarah's pulse quickened as she searched the street, each shadow inviting more dread into her heart. She could feel it creeping up her spine, whispering that Emma was somewhere close yet impossibly far. Emma. The name echoed into the dark, swallowed completely by the silence. She began to move, urgency guiding her steps as she scanned the chilling emptiness. Where could her daughter be? The flickering streetlight ahead cast strange shapes on the pavement, distorting reality. With each footfall, she could hear a low hum, a maddening melody that brushed against her ears and nudged at the corners of her mind. It beckoned her. A figure emerged between the shadows up ahead. Sarah halted, her breath hitching. The silhouette appeared familiar yet hollow. Emma? The figure twitched, eyes glowing with a ghostly light. But it didn't respond, merely swayed as if caught in some otherworldly rhythm. Panic gripped Sarah. "Please, just say something." The flicker of the light illuminated the creature, a twisted reflection of her daughter with hollow cheeks and sunken eyes. It wore Emma's clothes, but radiated malevolence instead of warmth. "Mom, help me." Its voice was a haunting echo. "Emma?" She choked, terror clawing at her throat. "What happened to you?" "It's dark here." The creature's face twisted, a grotesque smile spreading across its lips. The true Emma was behind that facade, trapped in a prison of shadows. "You shouldn't have come." "What do you mean?" "I'm here to help you." Sarah stepped closer, heart pounding louder with every desperate plea. But just as quickly, the creature recoiled. "You can't help me. You'll become one of them." It pointed a bony finger behind her, and dread surged through Sarah as she turned slowly. The shadows billowed, swirling into faces of those who had been lost, others trapped just like Emma, faces twisted in eternal sorrow. They grinned wickedly at her, the darkness urging them forward, eager to drag her down. "Leave me, Sarah." Emma's horrid reflection cried out. She reached forward, but shadows constricted around her. The walls pulsed with darkness, rippling and shifting like a living thing, dragging its awful weight closer with every heartbeat. "Stop!" Sarah screamed, the shadows far too hungry. She could feel their chill biting at her skin, threatening to pull her into the depths. "No." Come closer, the apparition urged, its invincibly vacant eyes locking onto Sarah's. Join us, Sarah stumbled back, confusion battling against her instinct to rescue her daughter. Tears streamed down her cheeks, the warmth of her mother's heart clashing against the icy tendrils pressing in. Get away from her, she boomed, their dark murmurs ringing in her ears. As if in response, the shadows surged forward, shrieking in the night, a cacophony of anguish and despair that crashed over her like a tidal wave. Sarah felt her resolve weaken, struggling to stay grounded as the defiant shadows pressed against her. Shut your eyes, it's our only chance. Emma's voice beckoned again, more insistent. But could she trust it? The darkness writhed, and fears came crawling back. It was lying. It was trying to lure her into submission. Time twisted into a single heartbeat. With an instinct born of desperation, Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. A suffocating silence wrapped around her, blocking out the cries and despair. Clamping her hands over her ears, she pushed away from the darkness, retracing the steps back to light she could barely remember. But then, a voice broke through, soft yet commanding. You can't hide from what you truly fear. Sarah's breath caught. What was that? Suddenly, the shadows fell unnaturally still, pressing her from all sides like an encroaching storm. Sarah blinked open her eyes, the flickering light now brighter, a beacon against the monstrous dark. Emma. But when she turned, there was no trace of her. Just empty darkness echoing the despair. Emma. She cried again, feeling the weight of abandonment wash over her. But the only response was the whispering wind, carrying sinister laughter as the shadows waited patiently for her to break. Were they lying in wait to claim her, or was the true horror still hidden somewhere in the dark? Every moment twisted her frantic heart as she realized she had to face whatever taint lay within, even if it meant confronting the unthinkable about her own fears. What awaited her beyond the flickering light? Would she dare enter the abyss again, or would she stand alone against the nightmares that have taken her daughter? The darkness shifted as she finally turned back to the shadows. They beckoned with a cruel promise. Sarah stood at the edge of the dark abyss, heart pounding wildly. She could feel the oppressive weight of shadows swirling around her, whispering secrets meant to drown her thoughts in despair. As she drew a trembling breath, a chilling silence settled over the street, wrapping her tighter in dread. Where was Emma? Emma! She screamed again, the sound wretched, echoing into the gloomy expanse. It was swallowed whole by the night, leaving an unsettling tranquility in its place, a moment of heavy stillness, as if the world itself paused to take a breath, and then she saw it. A flicker beyond the darkness, a glimmer of hope, shimmering like a fragile thread. Mom, please help me. It was Emma's voice, but distorted. It felt like a soft wind carrying both a plea and a taunt. Sarah strained through the fog of shadows, taking a tentative step, then another. Stay close, she whispered, pushing herself forward. But every step felt like a struggle against an unseen force. The earth trembled beneath her, as if the very foundation of Maplewood was shaking, and with it, her resolve. Don't look away, Mommy, the twisted reflection echoed, its form a grotesque mimicry of everything she loved about her daughter. Shadows danced around it, growing thick and hungry, ready to devour her spirit. Join us, you'll see, you'll finally understand. Sarah's blood ran cold, but she pressed on. I want tea, she shouted defiantly, forcing her legs to move faster despite the shadows clawing at her mind, filling it with doubt and sorrow. You are not my daughter. The figure swayed gently, darkness flowing from it like ink. More faces emerged from the void, children lost to despair, their eyes pools of hollow longing. We're all trapped here, Sarah. Don't you want to join us? Free yourself. Surrender to the dark. Their words churned in her mind, wrapping around her like tendrils. No, she screamed, shaking her head violently against their hypnotic song. I want to be trapped like you. I'm not giving up. With every ounce of determination, Sarah charged through the wall of shadows, feeling their icy breath scratch at her skin. They screamed, a collective wail that pierced the air, but she didn't falter. She could see Emma now, really see her just beyond, standing in the spotlight of shimmering light. Hold on, Emma. I'm coming, she cried, and the moment their eyes connected, something sparked between them, a cord of light that threaded through darkness. Despite the shadows reaching desperately for her, Sarah could feel her strength swell, ignited by love and hope. But as she raced forward, the ground split open. The abyss howled, hungry, and she felt the world teeter beneath her feet. The creature roared in rage, its savage visage looming close, eyes glowing with malevolent delight. "Foolish girl," it hissed, "you'll never escape." Sarah tightened her grip and surged forward. She had come too far to give in to fear now. "No," she shouted, as the flickering light grew stronger with every word. "I will save my daughter. I refuse to be scared." The shadows writhed, twisting painfully as flashes of light broke through their suffocating grasp. Sarah could feel the warmth of Emma's light wrapping around her, guiding her closer. "Mommy!" Emma launched herself forward. "Hurry! They're trying to take me." With a burst of strength, Sarah lunged through the darkness, her hand stretching toward Emma's outstretched arm. The scream of shadows pierced the air like a clap of thunder. "You cannot have her," they screeched, attempting to pull Sarah back into the abyss. "Hold on," she shouted, their hands clasping together, fighting against the unyielding force trying to tear them apart. Finally, their fingers locked together. In that moment of connection, a brilliant glow erupted, illuminating the attic and the streets beyond. The shadows shrieked, thrashing wildly, but the bond forged from love blazed fiercely, slicing through the darkness like a hot knife through butter. "Together," Sarah yelled, pouring all her spirit into that bond. With a roar that shook the very foundations, the darkness recoiled and shrank back, unraveling before the powerful light. The shadows dissolved into wispy tendrils, snuffed out like candles under a heavy hand. The whispers faded, leaving only the soothing echoes of laughter and warmth. Light exploded around them. The chill of despair melted away in the dawn's embrace as the shadows disbanded completely. A moment of stillness enveloped them. The chaos was gone. "Emma!" Sarah exclaimed, strong arms wrapping around her daughter, holding her tight. The warmth radiated through them, a pulsating rhythm of life that echoed the beats of their hearts, united once more. "We did it." Tears streamed down her face as she pulled back to face her daughter, who shimmered with powerful light, free at last from her darkness. "Mommy, you found me." Emma beamed, the innocence shining through her gaze brighter than any candle. "Yes, my love. Together forever," Sarah whispered, relief washing over her. And as they stepped together into the light, the sun broke through the lingering shadows of Maplewood, bathing the streets in warmth and hope once more. The darkness that once coiled around their community lifted, revealing a new dawn of fresh start. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling free. No longer confined by fears, the confidence of motherhood swelled within her. "Facing your fears can lead us home," she whispered, holding Emma close as they stepped hand in hand through their suburban paradise. The sun shone brightly on them, illuminating the once foreboding streets above the echoes of the past, forever transformed. And with that, Sarah finally found solace. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to catch all the spine-tingling stories we have coming. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. It's your chance to connect. And if you know 5 friends who need to hear this story, don't wait even one more second to share this video with them. Support the channel and be part of our community.